The swamp steamed beneath the African sun, its surface a green mosaic of lilies and black water stretching endlessly. Heat shimmered over the reeds while insects droned in the heavy air. It was a kingdom without mercy, where silence ruled and death came without warning. Beneath a mound of reeds and mud, life stirred. A clutch of eggs, pale and hardened, began to crack, releasing a brood of creatures older than time itself. When one shell, the last to break, emerged a hatchling unlike the rest. Its golden eyes burned with an intensity too old for something so small. He did not yet have a name, but the swamp was already carving destiny into his scales. In this place, names meant nothing. Only strength endured. His mother lingered nearby, a hulking shadow in the water, her eyes like polished stones breaking the surface. She waited not out of tenderness, but instinct. Her watch was law, not love. She would guard her brood for a time, but she would not save them from what the swamp demanded. Predators lurked on all sides, storks with spears for beaks, monitor lizards slithering for weakness, and above all, the threat of their own kind. The hatchlings learned the first lesson of this world. Stillness is survival. They floated like green ghosts among the reeds, only their eyes betraying life. Yet hunger burned in them all, and hunger has no patience for law. When others hesitated, the golden-eyed one hunted. Fish darted like silver flames beneath him. He vanished into stillness, coiling his tiny body with a patience older than memory. Then, a flash of violence, a surge, a snap, the water boiling with life and death. His first kill bled its secret into the river, staining it crimson for the wind to carry. From that moment, something ancient stirred within him. He understood the price of life. He understood the taste of power. But the swamp was merciless. The weak began to vanish, plucked screaming into the sky by storks or swallowed whole by things that shared their blood. One by one, his siblings disappeared until the once grouted shallows fell silent. The swamp had begun its work of thinning. Then the drought came. The river curled inward like a dying serpent, shrinking to cracked pools choked with rot. Fish thrashed in the last dregs of water. The stench of decay hung like smoke, and desperation crawled through every shadow. Hippos bellowed, crazed with hunger, crushing reeds and anything beneath their bulk. Antelope crept to the poisoned edges, their eyes rolling with thirst greater than fear. For the crocodiles, famine sharpened every instinct to a blade. Hunger turned kin into killers. The young one, grown lean and hard, learned the second law of this place: eat or be eaten. One dusk, as the sky bled into molten red, the water exploded around him. Another crocodile struck from below, its jaws punching into his side. They rolled in a whirlpool of blood and mud, a spiral of death spinning under the dying sun. Teeth tore flesh, scales shattered. Then he lunged, finding purchase in the tail, twisting until the bones cracked like green branches. The river ran red, and silence returned, save for the ripples curling like whispers. When the rains came again, the hatchling was gone. In his place, a predator walked the current longer than a man's height, his jaws lined with ivory death, his body sculpted by the fury of storms. Seasons turned like grinding wheels, and with each, he grew. 5 feet became 10, 10 became 15, until at last, he stretched to 18 feet of armored power. A ghost, forged in silence and violence, he ruled now. He moved through the lilies like a phantom, the water closing over him without a sound. His patience was endless, his strike, lightning. Buffalo fell to him, zebra too. Even the great cats, kings of the land, feared the places where the water turned black. He had no rivals until one day the horizon broke with the shadow of another. The old one came at dawn, scarred and vast, his body a map of wars survived. Their eyes locked in a world of green glass. The river froze, and it erupted, a storm of scales and fury. It crashed together, teeth hammering bone, tails whipping the water into roaring walls. They rolled in a death spiral, a living cyclone, until at last the golden-eyed one struck the killing blow, shearing through the rival's throat in a gush of crimson. The river boiled with silence as the old one sank into darkness. The swamp had crowned its king, but kings do not reign unchallenged. From beyond the reeds came a new shadow, not scaled, not of flesh but of smoke and iron. Men came, first as shapes on the horizon, herders with cattle, fishermen with nets. Then came the hunters, armed with fire and greed, sharper than any tooth. The first bullet tore the dawn, ripping silence into shreds. It missed, whining into the mud, but the river had tasted a death that spoke from thunder. Cavuto men did not know his name, learned the scent of oil and metal, the glint of rifles, the stink of men who killed not for hunger but for ivory and skin. The rains returned in fury, flooding the world in molten brown. Trees bent like supplicants as the sky fell in iron sheets. In that chaos, the hunters came with steel and laughter, certain of their dominion. They cut the water with their boat like a blade, rifles gleaming in the stormlight. But the river had its own law. It began with silence, a shadow rising in the rain. Then the world exploded in teeth and thunder. The boat pitched, screaming men hurled into the flood. Rifles cracked, fire stitching the night. But the shadow vanished beneath the boiling surface, dragging one man down, then another. The storm drowned their cries. When the waters stilled, dawn broke on a river reborn in silence. The boat was gone. The men were gone. Only ripples lingered, curling outward like whispers from the deep. And so the stories began. In the villages around fires, they whisper of a ghost beneath the lilies, eyes like molten gold watching from dusk. They call him Cavu, the River King. And when the air grows heavy, when the herons freeze and the water turns black, the swamp seems to breathe a single word through the reeds: survive.